Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Rosie, and if you're new here, please do subscribe. It really helps me out. So I'm here again with my husband Jeremy.
Hello.
Because we are recording part 3 of our pregnancy infant loss story. This one we're going to talk about depression, maybe a little bit of suicide. So this is like my trigger warning. Don't watch it if that is something that upsets you. Click away, watch something else, that's fine. But I do also think this is important to talk about because it is a huge part of what happened to us. It wasn't just the day, it was also the aftermath. So with that being said, just enjoy if you can. It's a weird thing to say, enjoy, but I mean, I don't know. Enjoy the episode. Yeah.
Hope it's going to be informative.
Yeah, we're just going to be really real again and talk about the experience. So yeah, like I said, with the first 2 episodes, we're doing the podcast. So we'll be talking to that and not really looking at you guys. Just here if you want to watch rather than just listen. But yeah.
And if you find this video, make sure you watch the 2 previous ones.
Oh yeah.
Because it might not make sense otherwise.
This is part 3. I should have said that. This is part 3. So we've done part 1 where we had a miscarriage and we got pregnant again and found out that the baby was ill. Part 2 was all about the abortion, so being in hospital, what physically happened, how I felt, what Jeremy was like during the whole thing. Part 3 is this one's going to be about the aftermath, and then part 4 is going to be about 2 of the pregnancies and moving away and everything else that happens after that. So stay tuned for all of that. Make sure you subscribe. So yeah, enjoy.
It's recording as well.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Just Interesting People podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Rosie and I'm here with Jeremy. I'll let him introduce what we're doing today, what we're talking about, but yeah, enjoy the episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast. So today it's the 3rd part of our special series about our pregnancies and infant loss experiences. So if you're just discovering the podcast today, I would recommend that you go back to at least 2 episodes back to the part 1, otherwise it might not make any sense to you, because we are really like sharing a story in a chronological way. But yeah, in part 1 we talked about our first miscarriage and getting pregnant again and finding out that our baby boy had a genetic disorder. In part 2 last week we talked about the abortion day, how everything went up to the funeral a week later. And in today's episode we're going to be talking about what happened after that. So, about how we dealt with everything for weeks and months. So yeah, it's not going to be really like in chronological order because everything is a bit blurry and intertwined. So we're just going to talk about some things that happened, some trigger, some just whatever was in our minds and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not going to be like it's not going to be like specific order like it's been before. But the idea with this episode is to really talk about like depression, how we dealt with it in a totally different way, all the little things that reminded us what happened and all that. So yeah, we're just gonna dive into it. But yeah, thank you for tuning in again, and we hope this is gonna be informative once again. So yeah, that's it. Let's go.
Well, so just going off what you just said, I think that's the thing is that with abortion and with miscarriage as well to a certain extent, but especially with the abortion, it wasn't just a one-day thing. We had an abortion, then we were over it. Like it took months and months of heartache and just, I can't even explain, just months of like trying to get back to some sort of normality. So that's something that again, like we were never told. That I mean, obviously, I guess everyone deals with it differently, but we were never told, oh, by the way, you're going to need counselling for a couple of months and you're not going to be right for 6 months or a year or however long it's going to take you. Like I just didn't really, I mean, obviously I knew it might happen, but it's just not really spoken about. It's like, oh, you have an abortion and it's done. Like it's...
Yeah, and I guess this episode is going to be way more personal in the sense that we're not gonna talk about, you know, like medical things and this happened. Like this is just gonna be how we felt about it, and I'm sure it's totally different. I mean, we had a different experience, so I'm sure it's gonna be different for everyone. But yeah, like so just to piggyback like a little bit on it, at the hospital the day before the abortion, we saw super quickly a psychologist. She came to the room, say hi, and we didn't talk. We didn't have like a session, probably therapy session, but she came, introduced, and they told us that we would have free therapy for, I didn't even know how long, they didn't specify. We had free therapy at the hospital, so we could go. I don't remember when we started, to be honest. It was at week 1 or whatever. I'm not really sure. We went 4 or 5 times, I would say.
Didn't I go on my own a couple of times? Because she thought I was worse than you. Or was I supposed to, but I didn't?
Yeah, I think she wanted to, but I don't know if you did.
So basically, our memory of this is a big blur because, first of all, we were grieving. Second of all, we were trying to get back on our feet, and it was 3 years ago?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
3 years ago. We didn't write down any dates of like when we specifically saw people. So in terms of like, you know, certain very specific information, we don't really know, but we can definitely talk about our experiences with the therapist and with all these different things. So I remember, okay, first things first, we had our therapy session in the same building, on the same floor, and almost next door to where I actually had the abortion, which is horrific. Literally, do you remember? Like, we pulled up there, even pulling up in the car park, I was shaking, I was so nervous, I felt sick, I was crying, like I just didn't want to be there. Again, like I didn't want to be there. And then having to go upstairs to the same floor, the 4th floor, and walk down that corridor where, like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks beforehand, I'd been struggling to walk around to try and get myself home again. Having to be there and sit and wait for maybe 10, 15 minutes outside waiting for the woman to come, like, it's just, like, of all the places you're going to do a therapy session, it really should have been somewhere else, because that was so triggering for me. It was so upsetting having to be there, like, over and, like, I just wanted to forget about it and get over it, but I keep having to go back to the same place with the same smells, the same sounds, the same people, the same nurses, everything. It was just awful. So, like, yeah, I kind of wish we'd maybe gone with someone private that was somewhere else, just because it would have been a lot less upsetting for us.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason we went for this one is because she was specialized. No, she specialized in that.
Yeah, in infant loss.
Yeah, so because I guess, you know, it's a really specific topic, and I don't think everyone's trained to deal with that. But yeah.
Do you remember much about the sessions?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't. I remember her asking. So I only remember one awful session, but we'll get into that afterwards. But what did we talk about? I mean, did I just cry the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I remember like the specific, but what I remember is that she. So we went together every time. She was asking about how we were basically, and, you know, like trying to make us talk, and I've never been super talkative in terms of expressing my feeling. I'm just burning it inside me and stuff like that, so I wasn't speaking that much, and I'm pretty good at hiding my feelings anyway, so I think she felt that I was kind of okay with it.
Well, I think she would ask questions and you could answer, as I would just cry.
Yeah, but yeah, like you couldn't like help yourself. You're just crying every time and stuff like that. So she focused a lot of her attention on you, because obviously it was more obvious that you needed help.
Well, I'm a very emotional person. Like, if I see somebody crying, even if I don't know them, I will cry. So I'm very emotional. I'm very like, I cry at anything. I cry at films and like, and my family's also very like emotional and open about talking about things. So for me, it was like I just didn't have a choice. Like, she'd ask me an upsetting question and I would cry because I was upset. Whereas Jeremy, you were very good at like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. Like, just kind of brushing it off, I guess. I think you're a lot more open now with your emotions, but definitely back then. I guess you were protecting yourself, but also I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just the way I was, the way
Yeah.
I am. But yeah, she was just asking a lot of questions about how we're feeling, what were we thinking exactly, how family and friends were. And we had a few friends that were pregnant at the same time. I remember talking about that.
Yeah.
I remember saying that personally it didn't affect me much that my friend gave birth or was pregnant and about to give birth, because like in my head like it was different baby, and I was just happy for her. When Rosie had a different experience with our friends being pregnant, like she struggled more than I did about that. So that was something we talked about quite a lot. After, yeah, I mean, it was nothing special in the sense that it was just she was asking more questions than anything and trying to see.
I guess trying to get us to dig deeper into
Yeah.
trying to talk about it.
I remember she talked about your family at one point.
Yeah.
I can't remember why, but
No, I can't remember why. I remember talking about my childhood and things, but I
Yeah.
don't really remember what the relevance was or.
yeah, well, it was about being a mother and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, something I remember actually funny is that I didn't even want to go to therapy. I thought I would just deal with it because I'm not the kind of person that talks about my emotion, like I said before. But I remember calling her to take an appointment, like for the first time, and saying like, Rosie would need like a consultation and more like one. And I remember she said like, but I'd like to see both of you, and then maybe we'll see later for private consultation. But I'd like to see both of you, and I was like, yeah, but I'm okay. She needs it more than I do. And she said like, yeah, but you're the one calling. And I was like, yeah, and she was like, so, she was trying to say like, you're the one calling, so actually you are trying to reach out.
Yeah.
No, it's just because I'm the one speaking French and doing all the paper and stuff like that. And she was like, yeah, right. Yeah, fuck off. Like, I remember that. Yeah, I know at one point we thought about having separate session, but we didn't make it. No, we stopped going anywhere at one point because we were making appointment like every week, and at one point she went away and stuff like that, and we just never went back.
Yeah. I remember, so, like, it's all a blur, like we said, but I remember one session in particular. I really don't remember what she asked me, what she said, but I remember it just really, really hit me. It was like a smack in the face. And, like, I was dealing pretty badly with depression, which I didn't really know at the time. I mean, I guess it must have been obvious for everybody else, but I was so deep in it, I couldn't really see what was happening. But one session in particular, she like, I really can't, do you remember? I can't remember what she was asking me, but like I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. And usually I would cry like during the session, then maybe afterwards for 5 minutes. But we drove to Jeremy's work, which was a good like half an hour drive. I just cried the whole time, like hysterical crying. And Jeremy was like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm not fucking okay. And oh, 1 second. This is so exciting to talk about because I didn't tell Jeremy for ages about this because I was so like, I didn't want him to worry. I didn't want anyone to worry. But I remember that after that session in particular, we drove to Jeremy's work and he was going to spend the day at work and then I was going to pick him up after, like later on at work. And I said to myself in my head, if he goes upstairs and goes to work and doesn't realise how upset you are, oh, I can't see it. Sorry, 1 second. So I decided that if he went upstairs and went to work and expected me to drive home and then drive and pick him up later on, I was going to kill myself, basically. I was going to drive my car somewhere fast and just kill myself and get it over and done with because I literally couldn't see the point in living. I couldn't see the future, I couldn't see the end of it, I couldn't see anything. I was just in such a deep hole. But,
yeah, that was about at least a month later.
it was a while after,
At least,
probably even 2.
yeah, because
Or
I
3.
went back to work 1 month after the abortion.
It's probably 2 or 3
so
months.
that was,
I think it was
2 or
far
3
in. It
months,
wasn't
yeah.
like, it wasn't straight afterwards, it was a couple of months afterwards, and it was just like and then luckily Jeremy realised I wasn't okay, went upstairs and got his laptop and came back down, and we went back home.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell you I was going to kill myself today.
You told me quite recently.
Yeah.
Last year maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the reason I'm saying that is because no one really knows about that. I think you and Karen, and that's probably it, really. And it's something that's very, very real. And like I said at the beginning, it's not just one day, it's not just one abortion one day, then you're over and you're fine. Like, it took me months and months and months to be okay and to get over it. And that was like my worst day, was like that day I decided, I was like, right, it's not worth it, I'm out of here, I'm done. And it's so sad to think about, because now I've got such a good life, and if I'd have ended it, it would have been, I mean, horrendous for Jeremy. I mean, lost both of us in 1 year, but I don't know. Anyway, so therapy lasted a couple of months.
From what you remember, do you think it helped?
I don't know. I think some days I felt good afterwards. Like, I'd have a good cry and purge and like feel really, really sad, and then I'd come out and be like, oh my god, I remember feeling happy sometimes, being like, oh, if that was good, that was a good weight off my mind. And then other sessions like this one, it just pulled me into this big dark hole that it was awful for me. So I think it had good and bad. I think it just depended maybe on what mood I was in, or how hard she went in on me, I don't know. But I mean, it's hard to say. Would it have been better if we didn't go? I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't
like,
know.
I genuinely don't know. Like, it's what we did and it happened. Whether it was good or not, I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was hard. It was really tough. It's not something where I'm like, I would definitely recommend every single person go and do it.
Thing is, I think also we don't really have a clear judgment about it, because we didn't finish the therapy in a way.
Yeah, and we've never done it before or even since, so it was our only experience.
Yeah, and we went for a few weeks, and then I think we then went away for holidays in August and stuff like that. So we went away for like 2 or 3 weeks, and we just never took an appointment again.
Yeah.
So even if she was trying to get us somewhere with her question and she had a plan in mind, didn't finish properly. So that's why we have a mixed review, I would say, about it. Yeah. What else?
Well, I feel like as we're talking about this, we may as well talk about depression and how that was. So it's funny, recently, in fact a couple of days ago I think it was, as we started recording these series, I was looking through my phone. I was like, I remember taking notes at some point, so I looked through and I wrote notes on my phone, just like a sentence every couple of days, every couple of weeks, whatever it was, something that stood out to me, I wrote a sentence. And it was so weird to look back on that, because I've written, like, I don't know, 1 month later, I feel like I'm drowning and I can't get out. And that's kind of the way I felt. And it's like, unless you've been depressed and had depression, it's really hard to explain to people. But all I can say is that I felt like I was drowning and I couldn't get up for air, and I was like fighting, but I couldn't get up for air. And I know that doesn't really make sense, but it might do if you've had depression before. But I spent so like we said, Jeremy was off work for a month, and then he went back, and I would spend all day, every day in the house. And I think, so like I said, when I wrote these like little diary thing on my notes, 5 months after the abortion was the first time that I stepped outside the house without having something to do. So whenever I left the house, it was like, okay, I need to go food shopping, so I need to leave the house. And in fact, actually, a lot of the time I'd wait until Jeremy got home, then I would get changed out of my pyjamas, get out of bed, we'd go food shopping and then make dinner together and then go to bed and start over again. So Jeremy would have I don't know how he dealt with it, but I just couldn't do anything during the day. Like, I just had no motivation to do anything. And like, some days I get out of bed at like 4 p.m. to sit on the couch and then wait for Jeremy to get home. So basically, I only ever left the house was to go food shopping, and even then I probably wouldn't do it without you anyway. Or I would see friends, or I would go on like my day trips. So when we learned what was going on with the baby, I started a blog. I was like, I need something to, because we weren't working, we were sat at home just worried about his baby the whole time and Googling. So I was like, I need to do something. So I decided to create a blog. And that's kind of what kept me busy a lot of the time. And I would set myself, it was almost like a job almost. I would be like, okay, I need to go out one day a week, go to like a town in Provence, take some photographs, and then I'd spend the next week at home like writing about the place and editing photographs, and that was my like way out of it all, and it was my something to keep me busy and something to keep me focused and something to get me out of the house, honestly. But like I said, it took me 6 months to literally sit on the balcony outside for no reason other than just to be outside of the apartment, because otherwise I felt trapped in the apartment, like I couldn't leave. And it's insane, because Jeremy would come home like, why haven't you left the house? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, leave the house. And I was like, I can't, like I just couldn't. But you didn't get it at all, did you?
No. Well, I think if no one experienced that, I don't think you can understand how it feels, to be honest. I mean, I can't say I understand it.
Like, I had a car that I could have driven anywhere. I could have done anything. I could have spent all my days outside on the balcony sunbathing. I could have been reading, walking, shopping, and I could have done anything, but I physically could not step out of the house. I just couldn't do it. I just had and it took me 5 months from the abortion. I got it written down to be like, I went outside, sat on the balcony in the sun for no reason other than just to be outside. And I think that's insane to read that now.
It's also interesting to see that's a reality, and that.
Yeah.
And also, if it's happening to anyone listening, like it's just,
You're not alone.
Yeah. Or it's not weird, or it's not like, don't judge it or whatever. It's happening to other people. It's not just you. Or you or whatever.
Well, but also there is hope for the future. Like I never, like I said, I was in a hole. I felt like I was drowning. I couldn't get out of it. I was suicidal at some point. Like I just could not see that anything was ever going to get better. I was just getting worse and worse and worse. But I guess I'm the story that it can get better. Like I'm now living the dream in Miami, and I don't want to shove that in your face as if if you're going through this, I'm really really sorry. But just keep going and take each day at a time, and just try and get through that one day, and eventually you'll come out of it.
There is hope at one point. Things will change, and you don't know when. There's no science behind it, but when I personally, so when I said at the beginning we had a really different experience, is that I didn't feel this way, and I think one of the reasons is because I didn't have time.
Yeah.
I didn't worry about me at all, because between the abortion and the funeral, I had to organize it, so I had shit to do, and then.
Well, even pre-abortion, you had to deal with me, and going for tests and driving me everywhere and taking me places to go. All those operations.
Yeah, I was gonna say so. I had two things to do. I had to take care of all the admin stuff, which is a lot, because even
the French love the paperwork.
Yeah, but but it's also good because when you give birth, even in this kind of situation, Rosie had a maternity leave, but that means that I had to do all the paper for that and everything, which I've never done before. So there were things there's plenty of things like that I had to do. So that was, I had to stay focused to be able to do all this shit, and also I was just too worried about you. I didn't before the abortion I worried about what was going on, and then during the abortion I worried about you, and then after that it was just about you. I didn't have time to think about how I was feeling about me or whatever, in a sense. I could see you so different. You're just a different person. You're not the Rosie that I know. And that was so confusing. And
you had to do the food, the dishes, the clothes,
Yeah, but even now, I still do it.
Yeah,
it's not. But
I didn't do anything. I was just.
No, but it's also I think one of the reasons I didn't get depressed, because I didn't have time to feel much, because I always had something going on, because I was just too worried about you. So I didn't have time to actually digest what's going on or whatever. Like I was just on, which, yeah, I think explain why like we dealt with it differently. Also, so I went back to work like a month after the funeral, pretty much. It was beginning of June, so pretty much like 4 weeks later. During the 4 weeks, like I can't remember exactly what happened, but we was terribly sad and everything, obviously, and tired physically, emotionally. So we haven't done much. And then going back to work obviously was helpful for me, because it was, well, I just seeing people and being busy and I had to get out of the house, like to relate to what you were saying. So it was easier for me to also move on a little bit. And go back to a sense of normality, which I don't know if it's good in a sense, because I feel like I had to as well, because I didn't have 4 months of odd days anyway, like you did. So in a sense, I mean...
1 minute, not holidays.
No, sick leave.
Yeah.
That was the right word, yes. Time off. When, yeah, you had your maternity leave until September, and then in September you just...
Because I'd given birth in the 3rd trimester, I had my full maternity leave, so I had
16 weeks.
16 weeks off.
Yeah.
After the birth?
Yeah, because you didn't take any before.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you're supposed to have like, I don't know, 6 weeks before and 10 weeks after, but because I didn't have any before, I had the 16 weeks.
And you were paid as well, and basically health insurance and everything, so...
Yeah. And then even after that, I quit my job because I was like, I can't go back there, because I was working in a lavender shop, so it was a lot of like kids, mums, pregnant people, women. I couldn't go back to that environment, and I didn't even want, like, honestly, I just didn't want to, so I quit, and got the chômage, which is the like unemployment money, yeah. But then at one point after 5 weeks, I went home to see my family, my parents, and Jeremy stayed at home to work. You stayed in France?
I stayed in France, and we went
I think I went to see my grandma and my parents. That was the main thing, because my parents were still in England, my grandma was in England, and I wanted to go and see them and spend some time with them.
Yeah, so you went back, and I was on my own for the first time since that happened. And one thing happened during that. It must have been July, August, in summer, probably.
It was 5 weeks, so... May, June, middle of June.
So June, okay. And I went to see some friends, spent the day there, and they had some friends around. We had like a meal together, barbecue, enjoyed the pool and everything. Had a really nice day. And then on the evening, so I spent the whole day like drinking beers and having fun and stuff like that, so I was obviously a bit more like super clear in my head. And in the evening, some other friends arrived, two other couples, from what I remember, with kids. And at one point...
This is people you didn't know, wasn't it?
No, yeah, I didn't know them. And at one point, we were outside and just having a chat with the guys. And one of the guys asked me, oh, do you have children? And I said no. And actually that's interesting, because that's something that we discussed. It is such a weird thing. Like what do you say in this situation when someone asks you if you have a child? Yes, but a dead one? No.
Yes, but I had an abortion.
It's complicated.
If you say yes, you've got to explain it. So you basically just say no, unless it's someone you can be asked explaining it to.
Yeah, and actually that's something that still bothers me right now, honestly. Every time someone asks me this question and I say no, like, there's something inside me that's like poking me. Like, I hate saying no. But at the same time, I don't want to get into like the story was fucking strangers or, whatever. So it's just the easy way out, and I don't know if it's the right thing, and maybe one day I'll find a solution and I'll let you know, but whatever. I said no, and I don't know, it didn't trigger me like on the moment, but then like we carried on, and I don't know, like I had a couple of beers again, and at one point I think I was in the garden laying down on the floor, and I just broke down, like crying like hell. I couldn't help it. I was just like, I don't know, like I was full, like I'm a bottle, and I was full, and that was the drop that just made me, and I just totally lost it. I was like crying, and then I called my friend, the host, and I was like, yeah, come here, and like nothing. I mean, I just cried the whole time. Like I cried in his arm on the floor in the garden for I don't know how long. Cried and cried and cried. I just totally lost it. I think it was literally like 5 weeks of tears just coming out. I guess it had to come out at one point, and I've been hiding and burying it, and that was the trigger. Also because I was on my own, I guess I felt okay that Rosie didn't have to deal with me, because I felt that I had to be strong the whole time for Rosie, so I just completely lost it.
You called me and it was terrifying.
Oh yeah, I called you, yeah. And
I didn't know what to do because I was in England,
yeah.
like with my parents.
And
you called, and I was just like, I was then crying, listening to you crying, and I was like, there's nothing I can do. I can't, like, if I could be there, I would be, but I couldn't, it's like 8 p.m, 10 p.m or something, I couldn't have come home.
So I calmed down eventually after a while, after talking to my friend. We had dinner, and I was supposed to sleep there, but all the kids and everything was there, so I asked them if they could drive me back.
Did Michelle come and get you?
No, so
oh, sorry.
Marie drove me back, and when I got back to the apartment, I thought I was okay, stepped in, sat on the floor, and cried again, like crazy, but I could not control my body. I can see myself on the floor, like I had like a out-of-body experience. I was just like crying, and I was like in pain, like physically and everything from crying, and like my heart was just broken. Like I was just absolutely devastated. I really feel like it's literally like 5 weeks or whatever of pain that I've just been like burying and hiding and whatever and ignoring just came out. Everything came out. I think I called you again, and it was late. It was like past midnight on a weekend probably. And eventually I called my uncle, who lived like half an hour away. And I called him like crying, and he came, and he spent the night with me, and then
I was texting him saying like, do not leave Jerry on his own, I don't know what's going to happen, I'm not there to look after him, like you need to be there, don't leave him.
So he stayed for the night, and then I went to his house, and I spent a few days at his house. I didn't go to work, I worked from there. During the whole time I took like some days I just couldn't go to the office because of whatever reason, personal things already or stuff like that, and my managers have been great about that. But yeah, that was my day when I absolutely lost it. I think it was just I was full and I had to get it out, which is what I do anyway.
It's interesting what you said about your like just being heartbroken and being in pain, because I remember like being in physical pain from how heartbroken and how upset I was. And I've never really understood that or experienced that before. Like I know that like I've been upset before, you break up with your boyfriend, or I don't know, something happens that's sad, like you can be upset, and I've obviously cried, like I'm an emotional person, I cry a lot anyway, but actually feeling like your heart hurts and like your just inside, just your soul, I guess, just hurts.
And you can't stop. Like, it's not something you control, or like sometimes when you cry, you can just like go like, okay, like take a deep breath, and like you can control it. Like, that was just like, I was not in control of my body, of what was going on. I was just hurting inside, and this whole thing, like this bad energy or tears and anything had to come out. Like it was just, I was not in control. Right? In a way, I could see myself, I think.
Because I think before that, like, I think you cried when we saw Lewis, and I think you cried at the funeral.
Yeah,
But I mean,
like,
but after that,
controlled crying.
Yeah.
I would say, like I said, I could like just like, okay, like.
Whereas with me, I think I cried every day. Like, I cried
Yeah.
myself to sleep for 2 months probably, like every night. I
Yeah.
just couldn't. Like, I woke up crying. I went to sleep crying. I just cried all day. Whereas for you, like you said, you suppressed it until this one
Yeah.
day when I wasn't there, and you could release and actually.
Things that, I mean, I don't cry easily anyway, and even if I want to, I hide it most of the time. But also, like, I felt that you were such in a bad place that I didn't want to add anything on top of that. So that's what I was feeling. I had to be strong. I had to be in charge of everything because you needed that. You needed a sense of stability, and you need someone with you to just hold on to everything. So I felt I was not allowed to go down. I had to stay focused and all right, let's just deal with it. That's it. And that was unconscious. I mean, I didn't plan it. But yeah, that was my big breakdown.
It's so sad as well for me to hear about that though, and especially when it happened. Like, I don't know, like knowing that you couldn't grieve because you were so concerned about how I was. But then I couldn't even think about how you were. Like, I couldn't even think about how I was. Like, I was just so deep in that hole. Do you know what I mean? I just thought you were okay because you went to work and you like looked after me, and you'd go food shopping and do everything and look after me, like you just did everything. I just thought, oh, well, he's just okay and I'm really not, there's something wrong with me. Why am I taking this so badly? Like, I didn't really think of that. I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to think back on it because I think I was just so much in my hole and so depressed and so just...
Yeah, you had no clue what was going on around you anyway.
No.
To be honest. So,
it's so weird to think about.
And also, like, I mean, to go back on what you're just saying, like, we had this conversation just a few months ago, that in a sense, I don't know if I actually grieved properly.
Yeah.
Maybe, because I had a month of doing things and looking after you, and then I went back to work and I had to look after you, and then I had to take care of the visa and moving, and then it was Miami about forgetting and
You've never had just like 4
yeah,
months or
like
6
I didn't
months of
stop and just say like, all right, you know what, like I'm literally just yeah, I don't know, we had different experience for that.
I have no idea how you did it.
I don't know. Yeah.
You're an absolute superstar. Because if you'd have been the same as me, if we'd have both been in that hole, God knows what would have happened. Or if you'd have been like... Because the thing is as well, like... It's weird for me to say this, but dealing with me at that time must have been so hard for you. And you could have quite easily been like, no, fuck this, it's not worth it, I'm out. Like, you could have quite easily left me. And it would have been understandable because I was literally, I had no idea. Like, I was just in a hole. So the amount of strength it took for you to stay with me, to look after me, and to go to work and carry on and like keep going and just looking after me the whole time. I'll forever be grateful.
I can't say I remember it, to be honest. Like, I feel I was in like a robot mode.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how I was. I can't even tell you like what I thinking. Like, if I thought about, you know what, I forgot. I don't even know. Like, I was just maybe unconscious in a sense, you know. Like, it was just, this has to be done. This, like, I've got to deal with it. Like, let's just do it, you know. Like, I don't know, unplug something, and it was all right. Let's just do it. And yeah, that's what I mean by the whole thing. Honestly, it's a big blur for me. Like, because I don't know if it was like overwhelming or whatever, but yeah, that's why it's really hard to put words on it, in a sense.
I also think it definitely put a strain on our relationship.
Oh yeah.
Because, like, I think that's worth talking about, even though it's private. I think it's worth talking about because it's like all of this is like no one talks about any of it, and like it was hard because like, so this is from my point of view. So because I was like depressed, in bed, crying all day, couldn't get out of bed, literally couldn't step outside without having like a reason, like I said, like it was to go food shopping or to do something. I couldn't just be outside, do anything. So I didn't shower. I didn't, like, literally had to tell me to shower. I didn't do the dishes, I didn't do the clothes washing, I didn't tidy, I didn't eat, I didn't like feed myself during the day, like I just didn't do anything. I remember you'd come home and be like annoyed at me for not doing the dishes, and I was like, I've written on my little diary thing, like, Jeremy's annoyed I'm not doing dishes, I understand it, I'm at home all day, but he needs to understand that I don't have the mental capacity to do the dishes. But like, that's my point of view. I was like, I can't even eat or step outside or shower, let alone do dishes and go food shopping and do normal things. But then also from your point of view, like, I don't know if you remember, but I guess it was just like, what the fuck are you doing, wasting your life, snap out of it, like.
Yeah, it's something that if you don't experience it, I think you can understand. So I didn't understand how you were like that. Also, we are really different anyway in these kind of things. Like if there is something I struggle with, I just try to, like kick myself in the butt and stuff like that. We have a different personality to overcome things like that anyway. So I guess when something that bad happened, the whole thing is just reinforced. But anyway, I don't think that's something you can understand if you don't go through it. And yeah, it was confusing, but at the same time,
You were very good with me.
Like I know that there was something wrong. Like that was I know that you were not doing it just to piss me off.
Yeah.
That you just couldn't. But just sometimes like you go to work and you spend the whole day at work and then you have to deal with all that. Like I guess once in a while I was like, this is hard.
Yeah.
But well, we managed it.
God knows how, but it brought us together and we managed it. And
Yeah.
we're now stronger than ever. But
Like I think after.
It
I
took
think
work.
this
It
kind
definitely
of
took work.
shit is like either you say fuck off, like you say it's not worth it, or
like either it pulls you together or it tears you apart.
yeah, or like I don't know, you say like fuck off, it's not worth it, or you just go find another man or woman depending on the situation, or and you just end up making things worse and whatever, or you manage it and then you go out there stronger than ever. And now after going through some shit like that. Yeah, it's. Obviously, every little thing that happen in life are kind of easier to deal with.
It puts things in perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to? Yeah. Do you want? So, a few things that happen after the abortion and pregnancy is that we realized that we had like a few like triggers and things happening that even if you feel like you're having a good day or whatever, like there are some things that comes up to your face and it's like, oh, like reminders, stuff like that. At this time, and obviously when you have friends the same age, people get married together and people have kids at the same time, stuff like that. And we had 2 close friends pregnant at kind of the same time. So one of them was due a month and a half before, like 6 weeks before us, or something like that. And another one kind of 6 weeks later.
Well, she's the one from episode 1 or 2, where we say that we were going to tell them that we were pregnant, and then she was actually like, we're pregnant too.
Oh yeah, part 1. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's that one who, she was like 4 weeks after us.
I also had 2 walkmates pregnant due literally within a week of how we were supposed to be due. Like one was a day after and one was a week before after.
And there was Gigi who helped with the miscarriage, Jeremy's auntie who lives close to us.
Yeah.
Her sister was also pregnant at the same time.
Yeah, and she gave birth beginning
after?
of September, so yeah, 2 or 3 weeks after. There was a bunch of them, a bunch of pregnant ladies around us, and that's the kind of thing that when you all have a baby, it's amazing, it's like yay, and when shit like that happens, it's oh fuck.
It's funny because like with Mary, we were like, oh, we'll be pregnant together and we can do maternity leave together, and oh, we can go to each other's for AC and like sit in, because they were going to have a pool maybe because they had a new house. But, oh, I'm going to sit in the pool together and be whales while husbands are at work, and like we joke about it and like, like bond over it.
Yeah, and then that happened, it's like fuck. And all those people are still pregnant and have babies, and you're just left there, and you just have to stare at it, and it's like, I'm not having that. And you're like, why me? Like, why this is happening to us? Stuff like that. I dealt with it better than you did. And that was not something I was trying to hide or anything. That was genuine. Like, somehow my brain really made a difference between what happened to us and other people's pregnancy. And when they all gave birth and stuff like that, like, I was actually really happy, and I didn't see it as it didn't annoy me that they had a healthy baby, or I was not sad or anything. I was just happy for them. Somehow my brain really made a difference with it. It wasn't like super easy, and I still have trigger as today. Like last week, as of today, the recording, beginning of September, like everything would have been different. Lewis should be going to school right now, and all those kids just started school. So
we're going to have reminders for the rest
the
of
first
our life.
week of September, that was like, when I saw some pictures on Instagram and stuff like that, I was like, fuck. Like, I had a really, really bad day. But at the time we dealt with it differently. Like, do you want to share how it was for you?
Yeah, so with Mary, she was the one that lived quite close to us. I think we saw them when they were still pregnant, and I just couldn't really...
You couldn't get out of the car.
Did we go to their house?
Yeah, we went to the house, we drove there, and she just came out on the terrace, and you saw her pregnant.
Yeah.
And you were like, nope,
not doing it.
I can't. And yeah, I don't know how long it took. You came in eventually, but it took a lot of crying and stuff like that, and a lot of time.
It's just so hard to see someone that, like, because like I said, we were pregnant at the same time. They were 4 weeks after us. So I would have been the same size. I would have been, at the same stage, like buying all the baby things and getting all excited and complaining about being hot and sweaty in the south of France, being a big whale, and like all these things I wanted to do with her. Like it was so hard to see her pregnant. And then the worst one I remember was orally. So this was Jeremy's sister / not like best friend, but they've grown up together.
Yeah. So she gave birth on the 23rd of June.
And we would have been due like the end of August.
Yeah, like middle of August, so it's like kind of 6 weeks each difference. But like when she gave birth, I actually went to see them at the hospital. Like the day she gave birth, I went on my own. I think I was the first person visiting. But then we decided to go back. Oh, it was when Florian was here.
We were with our friend came to visit for the weekend, and on one of the days we were like, oh, we're going to go and see whatever this big bridge that's old.
Yeah, the Pont du Gard. It was pretty close from Aurélie, and I texted her saying like, hey, are you home? Yeah, all right.
So we'd had a nice day together, and then Jeremy was like, so I think we should see Aurélie on the way home. And straight away, my hands were sweating, my heart was going. I was like, oh my god, I can't see her. I don't want to see her. And I just sort of said, well, okay, but I might not come in. So we drove there. And it was only when we pulled up like on her road, I started crying, and we had to like drive past her house and park up somewhere else. And I had a good cry, and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not ready. You shouldn't have just sprung it on me. Like I felt like I was like tricked into it almost. Like I wouldn't have chosen to go there.
Also, you're too nice to say it. So when I was asking you if you're okay, you're saying yes.
I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm fine. I was also just telling myself I was fine. I so wanted to be fine. I so wanted to be happy for her, to be normal, to be, excited to meet the baby. So we had a good cry, and I was like, no, okay, right, I'm fine. I am fine. I'm fine, let's go. So we drove there, parked up, and walked up to the front door, and I think I started crying. And Jeremy, she came to the door and said hello to us all, and as soon as she said hello to me, I just started, I broke down and started crying. And I was like, no, go, you go. So they all went inside. Yeah. And I stood outside on the terrace balcony thing, just like, no, I can't come in yet. And then I would step in, literally take one step into the front door and then step back outside again, spending the 10 minutes outside. And then maybe I'd step 2 steps inside, and then no, this is too much, step back outside again. Yeah,
you come in eventually.
And then, okay, well maybe this time I'll step in a little bit further. But then as soon as I heard him gurgle or cry or make a little baby noise, I'd be out again crying again. Like it was just so hard to break that barrier to actually step through that house. Like I found it like it was almost like a physical barrier. Like I physically couldn't go in there, and when I did, I just cried. After about an hour or so, I'd say, like it really took me a while.
Yeah.
Eventually, I went in and sat down away from the baby, and like I remember at one point he started fussing, and they were like, "Oh, I don't want to get him out because I don't want Rosie to like." I couldn't look at him. And I think they were like nervous about picking him up in case I would see him and then that would set me off again. But then I was like, no, but the baby crying is setting me off, and it was just like I just found it so hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard because I really wanted her to be like, I really wanted to be happy for her and celebrate with her and be like
yeah, you couldn't help it.
Be that friend who was like, oh my god, I'm so excited, let me hold it, because I'm such a baby person. Like I love babies as well. Like with Mary's other kids, like as soon as they were born, they basically pass it over to me like, right, Rosie, here's the baby, you can feed them, you can look after them. Like I'm just a baby person, so I'd like, it was so upsetting that I couldn't be that for her and like support her and be excited for her, and it was just I just couldn't do it. I just like
it was like physically couldn't do it. It was not a conscious choice or anything.
No, I was trying. Like this is the thing, I had to try so hard to step in that door and to sit on the couch. Like it took me like an hour and a half to be able to sit on the couch. It wasn't easy to do it, and I kept running away outside and crying because I didn't want to upset her, and she like it was just such a weird dynamic. But that was definitely one of the hard ones. And
something else. So during the whole time, so from May to the end of the year, so we went away for time. Actually, just after the abortion, like 3 weeks later, it was our 28. It was our wedding anniversary. So we decided to get away for a few days. We had like someone gave us like a coupon to go to stay somewhere for a night.
That's for our wedding, not for losing the baby.
So we thought that was good for us to get out of the apartment, especially as Rosie obviously struggled with that. So we didn't go further. We went away for like 3 or 4 days, which was quite good to just have a sense of normality. And then in August we came to Miami for a week because we were still planning to move to Miami later. So we came for a week here to visit and see if we like it or not, to plan a potential move. Something that happened during this time is so we actually came to Miami when we were due. Like we were due like in August, and that's pretty much like when we came to Miami. We should have been kind of giving birth at around this time. And actually, I remember one morning waking up, checking my messages, and seeing that my friend from work just had his baby boy. And I remember that was like fuck, I don't want to see this picture, I don't give a shit. Like this one, because it was pretty much like on the same day, it was really like a hard one. And something that I remember as well is a few weeks later, he planned to celebrate with us at work and brought some like alcohol to celebrate and to have a little aperitif. And I remember telling him, I messaged him like the day before. I was like, I'm really sorry, I don't really know how to say that, but I don't know if I can see your kid. So if you're coming with him and your wife, I'll just stay home. I'm happy for you, but I just don't know if I can. That was the one, because it was like pretty much the same day. I was like, it's more like, I don't know how I'm gonna react, so just in case, I'll rather stay home.
You don't want to make it awkward for everybody else.
Especially because it was like in a company with everyone, and most people knew because I missed work for like 2 months. But yeah, I remember saying that, and actually, he didn't bring him, and it was fine. But that's something just thinking about it, like with work and everything, and with people in general, it's such a weird thing because I remember the day we found out, and when it was kind of confirmed after like the first trimester and everything, we stopped to a supermarket and we went to work together with like a bottle of champagne. I think you came, and I bought some champagne to celebrate with my workmate and everything, and it's like, yeah, I'm pregnant, I'm gonna be a dad, and you know, you tell friends and everything, and then that happened, and you can see this look in their eyes, like no one dare to say anything, because it's hard. Like, I mean, and even like, if it happened to someone, I wouldn't still not know what to say. You know, it's when people die in general or whatever, it's always like fucking awkward, and we are human are terrible at dealing with that.
Yeah.
So I don't blame anyone, but you can see the look and like the I'm sorry for you kind of shit. And yeah, I remember like going back to work, and you know, some people, I was closer to some people than others, obviously, and I remember that was such a weird dynamic, like sometimes, or you have some people. I remember some people from my village with my parents. I obviously they had to tell people in the village that happened. I remember like even months later or years later, some people are like, "But you don't have a baby." Like I thought, like, and I was like, no, you must have got confused with someone. Yeah, you know, like, because you don't want to get into again this fucking conversation about. It's just not easy to have this conversation, you know. Like, I don't want to be reminded every day and have to explain myself every time about what happened, stuff like that. So I remember that happened a couple of times. Like, no, you just must be confused with someone else, especially when you're not super close to the person. You don't want to. Yeah, I remember that.
It's interesting because I had some like similar experiences with my friends. So I can't remember the dates and things, but I found out that one of my friends in France. So I had a group of about 8 of us that were kind of English speaking, so either from Canada, America, or England. I found out through one of my other friends that one of my friends was pregnant, and I remember being upset with her for not telling me, but I was like, is it because we're not super close, or is it because she doesn't want to upset me? And that was like a weird thing. And then my other friend was pregnant, and we were walking through X, which is where we lived, and she was like, so if I was pregnant, would you want me to tell you or not? And I was like, yes, of course. And she was like, well, I'm pregnant. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like hugging her, and I was so excited for her. And it was super nice. But we then had like drinks with all our other friends, and I found out that they'd already known for like 2 weeks. And I remember thinking like, oh, I don't want that, like people treating me differently. And it's hard for me to say, and Jess, if you're listening, I still love you. But it's hard to say this because like people treated me differently in the nicest possible way. But it also made me feel like I was being treated differently. And it was so hard then to go for this drink, and everyone being like, oh, did you tell Rosie? Oh, finally she knows. Okay, now we can all talk about it together. And I was like, oh, well, like I'd have thought I'd be one of the first people she would tell because we were pretty close at the time. And like, it's that weird, like, people treating you differently, even if they're trying to be nice. It's so hard not to be like, just treat me normally. I'm still Rosie. I'm still super excited for you. I'm still obviously sad about what happened to me, but it doesn't mean I'm less excited about what happened to you. And especially because this was a couple of months later. And it was funny as well seeing my friends after all that happened, because I think I saw them after 4 weeks or so. And it was weird because like, I don't know, like, are you okay? And you just have to be like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, like, the stupid question, are you okay? And it's like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, not blaming anyone. I mean, everyone is the same, and I mean, we ask everyone daily life, how are you doing? We don't actually care how they're doing. But you know, when something like that happens, you like, no, do you really think I'm okay? I just had an abortion a month ago. Like, what do you think? You know, at the same time, it's hard to understand. Like, it's so hard to deal with it. Like, some people don't know how to deal with it. Some people don't know. They wanted to protect us. It's super confusing for everyone.
Like, when I first saw my friends, I was like, okay, I'm not ready to talk about it yet because I'll just cry the whole time. So let's just not talk about it. Maybe next time. So we'd be like, okay, let's have drinks. We'll talk about other things. And then the next time we'd be like, no, it's still not okay. And then the next time. And then it gets to the point where it's then like, well, we're not going to keep bringing it up. So I don't think I ever really particularly had like deep conversations with my friends in France about it. Like I had one best friend, and my brother and his wife in particular spoke a lot to. But my friends in France, I don't think I really had like, maybe I did and I can't remember, but I think it was a lot, I don't know, like at the time I was like, I'm too upset to talk about it. And then it got to the point where it was too late then to be like, okay, well 6 months ago, like how do you feel? Like it was a weird kind of, but I definitely felt like I got treated differently like within my friends. And it's like, it's hard as well because even though I want to be treated the same, obviously you can't treat someone the same who's gone through that. Like they were doing their best to protect me, to be good friends, and I'm thankful for that.
Because at the same time we had so many triggers, like we said. That that in a way is understandable, and we might do the same, you know, if it's happening to someone, something
Yeah.
like that. So it's
hard to
not
know.
blame here. It's really hard, like for everyone, like something hard to deal with for family, friends. Like we just human in general, I think, don't really know how to deal with shit like that. Just really hard.
Something I want to mention as well is that my big brother told me that he was pregnant 1 month after the abortion. Well, that his wife was pregnant 1 month after the abortion. And I remember that just... Like, it's weird how something like this can affect relationships. So with my little brother and his wife, I feel like it brought us closer because we talked a lot about it. We spent a lot of time talking to them, and they were really good with us, weren't they? Because my brother's wife had lost her mum, so she dealt with like loss before and depression and things like this. So it was nice to be connected closer with them and to build a stronger bond with them. But on the other side, with my bigger brother, my older brother, they're both tall, so they're both bigger.
It's also bigger.
My older brother, he already had a son who was 1 year old when we had the abortion, because he was born when we were in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So he was 1 year old when we had the abortion, and then I found out that they were pregnant a month after I'd had the abortion. And honestly, this whole situation kind of brought us apart a little bit, and it's so sad. I'm going to cry saying that because it's so sad that happened. I think I found it really hard for him just to have babies really easily. Just get pregnant, like literally get pregnant the first month of trying, which we did as well, to be fair, but then, and just have a healthy baby twice and not really think about it and not have to worry about it, not have all these, I had so much jealousy and envy and anger as well. I was really angry at a lot of people.
Yeah, that's something that obviously when it's someone close like that, everything is accentuated, like it's just worse. But that's something I know that during the bad days, that was like, why us? I remember thinking like, there's so many, I don't know, it's not right, but there's so many people in the world that have babies, but they don't want them. So many people that have babies and just like treat them like shit and abandon them and kill them and beat them up and that just don't want it. And then you have like a couple like us that really, really want it and we can't. And there's nothing we can do about it because it's in our fucking DNA and gene. Like, and like, you know, the whole like why us stuff, and there's no answer to that. But I remember that was like when I was having a bad day, that was like one of the thing, like why
like,
us,
what have we done to
like,
deserve this?
yeah, like why do we deserve that? And when you see some people that are not grateful at all to have children, that are just complaining about it, you know, like here's some, I'm sorry to say that, but like, you know, like right now when I heard like during COVID all those people saying like, oh my god, like having my kid in the house for 3 months or 6 months, like fuck, let's get them away, like it's so annoying, blah 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 blah. It's like, you have a fucking child, be grateful for it, you know, like little things like that still trigger us as today.
Yeah.
And again, we would have had a baby, we would have been the same, but it's just, yeah, like little things like that are really like triggers.
Yeah. But it's interesting with my brother, because I obviously had a lot of like anger and jealousy towards him and his wife, and I still haven't really spoken to him about it. Like in fact, I don't think I've ever spoken to him about the abortion. Like we just didn't talk about it, and we kind of didn't talk for a while, because I think I don't really want to speak for him, but I think he felt weird about the fact that we were going through that, but then he was also pregnant and celebrating having a baby, and it was, I don't know, it's like, it can really affect relationships in different ways. Like it brought me and my younger brother closer, but then me and my older brother further apart, and it's hard how it happens, and it didn't happen, like we didn't do it on purpose, and there's no malice behind it, there was no, like, we didn't have a big argument, and that, you know, it was nothing like that, it was just weird, it was just a weird thing, we just didn't talk about it, and we just still haven't really, so, yeah. I don't know. But let's go back to Miami, because So something that happened then, it was, for me, so like I said, I felt trapped in the apartment, and it was only until October so we had the abortion in May. It was October when I first stepped outside for the first time, just to be outside and just to enjoy the sunshine and just to be outside without having a reason. So bear that in mind, but we went in August to Miami.
So yeah, 3 months after your abortion.
Yeah. And it was so nice to feel like me again. Just like 1% me was back again. And I remember talking to my mum on the phone on the beach in the morning and being like, oh my God, it's 9 a.m. and I'm sunbathing in Miami and it's amazing here and I love it. Because we really weren't sure if we would love Miami or not. And I absolutely fell in love with it as soon as we arrived. And Mum said to me, I think a couple of days later, that it was so nice for her to see like a glimmer of hope. Oh, that's gonna make me cry. And she could see like a tiny bit of me coming back again, because I felt like I just wasn't me that was 3 months, and even for another 3 or 4 months after that, like it really did take me a long time to get back to me again. But it was like coming here for that 1 week brought me back to life a little bit, and I feel like after that I feel like after Miami I went back downhill and got depressed again, and it was all very up and down, but it was so nice to have that 1 week of like, oh my God, this is what our future could be. If we move here, we can be surrounded by palm trees and the ocean and the sun.
Yeah,
and
have a fresh start.
A fresh start, and people that don't know our story. That was the other thing. Like, if we make friends here, they'll know us as Rosie and Jeremy from Europe. They're not going to know us as that couple that had the abortion, which I think it's hard to get rid of that kind of label once you've been, it's hard enough for people to treat you the same especially once they were there with us and witnessed it with us. Whereas now if we tell people about it, it's like, oh, that's before I knew you, so it doesn't really affect the way I think of you. Yeah. Whereas it's hard, I don't know, so it was really nice to come for that week, and it was really nice to kind of see something new, see our future, I guess, see what it could be, just to be happy again. Honestly, I was happy for that week. And I know you struggled with seeing your friend's kid, but...
Yeah, but it was just bad moment, but yeah, it was good. And then straight after that, we went to Portugal. I think we literally flew back, and the day after we flew to Portugal.
We went
for
there to
like
be
10
with your
days
family.
with pretty much my entire family.
It was about 25 of us or something.
Which again, so that was good. Just escape and see something else. All the first time near you, so.
Yeah, it's my first time in Portugal, so it's nice to go to different places and be tourists.
But it's stupid that not that we wanted to numb it, but also it was good to disconnect about this reality and just be somewhere else and think about something else and be surrounded by other people and stuff like that. And that was a good little escape for a little bit. I remember we had a conversation with my auntie when we were there, actually on the day that we were due.
Yeah. That was tough. I remember being there with all your family, and everyone was just like giggling and having fun and being silly, and I just sat there like, no one fucking cares, no one gives a shit, like we were supposed to be due today, and I found it really hard that no one noticed it.
Yeah, I don't remember what we did during the day, but I remember on the evening we had dinner outside, and at one point I don't know, like something triggered us and we had to step away a bit.
We were just like, no, we're not okay.
Yeah. My aunt came with us, and we had a little chat with her, which was nice, a little bit to talk to someone about it. My family is not really expressive. We don't talk much about serious shit.
Yeah.
So.
Like we never really talked to your parents about it.
Yeah, not much. So there was something that I remember.
It was interesting talking to her as well about how everybody asks about me. So even if like we said with the therapist, she was more concerned about me than Jeremy. Or like if your parents ring up, they're like, how's Rosie doing today? Physically, is she okay? And it was like, why don't you ask about how I am? Or like my family was always about how are you? No one particularly asked about how's Jeremy, or friends as well. It's like, oh, how's Rosie? And it's interesting that like, even though physically I went through it, I still think, like I said before, I think it was worse for Jeremy seeing me go through it, and also seeing me with the depression and like having to deal with me and not getting the chance to deal with it himself, yet nobody particularly asked how you were. It was always about me.
Yeah, not many people.
It was kind of, because I physically went through it, was always, I don't know, it was weird. It was like,
I think it's multiple things. I think it's, in general anyway, like the woman is pregnant and the man is just there, and people always even when something is good, it's more like about the mum and the dad. So I think that's just something, it's just where it is. People associate pregnancy and kids with mother more than father, and we're just assistant there in general. And
which I don't think I said right from the beginning. We're pregnant.
But
pregnant,
so
like.
I think but that's the truth. I think anyway.
Yeah.
Like even when things are good, it's more attention around the mother than the father. So there's that. Also because physically you had to go through something physically, and also like people attach something to that. It's like having a surgery, or whatever. It's so that was that. And also I think it's the way we dealt with it, because on the surface I was okay, and everyone see that you were crying and stuff like that. Obviously the attention was directed to you. Like if you were just looking at us, it was like, Jeremy looks okay, she looks not okay at all. I was gonna say like shit.
I look like shit, you can say it.
So I'm gonna ask about her, and it's just.
Do you think there's also that stigma about like men just are strong and men are okay and men don't cry and men don't?
No, I don't know. No, I don't think even it's that bad. I think it's just the general thing of pregnancy equals mother more than anything else, and also the fact that I looked okay. And I was really good at hiding anything and being in control, and you just didn't look okay at all. So naturally, people were asking more about you than how I was. And anyway, if people were asking me, I was saying, yeah, okay, because whatever, that's what I do. But yeah, like it was interesting to see this dynamic that all the attention was focused on you for, I would say, 90% of the people. Not everyone, but a good 90% of people just focused.
I remember it did upset you though.
Yeah.
That your parents would call up and ask about me, and you were like, "Why don't you care about me?"
Yeah. I don't remember if you upset me at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Because you'd get off the phone, you'd be like, "Why the fuck don't they care about how I am?" And I was like, "Jeremy, I'm sure they do. But if you tell them you're okay, they're gonna think you're okay."
Yeah.
Like, whereas if I say no, I'm not okay, they're gonna be like, "Oh, okay. Well, how's Rosie? Like, is she doing better than yesterday?" Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Want to talk about triggers?
Yeah. Well, we talk a little bit about things that trigger us. So pregnant people. Do you wanna? There's something that you said that I remember. Don't know if you want to share that, but about seeing pregnant lady in the street. I mean,
I was so angry, so angry, and like I said, we'd go to these therapy sessions at the maternity ward where people were giving birth. Like they had the healthy babies on one side of the floor and not healthy babies on the other side. So you'd see babies all the time and see pregnant people all the time and friends that were pregnant. And I was so angry that I would literally I was saying to Jeremy, if I had a knife, I would stab her in the stomach. Like I was that angry. And it's so scary to think that, because if I did have a knife, and I don't know if I actually would have done it.
Yeah.
Would I actually have done it? Probably not. But I was so angry that I was like, give me a fucking knife, I'm going to stab her.
Yeah, it's just interesting that you had this anger towards other pregnant women. So it was not just about friends or whatever, it was in general.
Just random people.
It was just really like a trigger. And that's one of the reasons you didn't go back to work. Because
I was like, we often get
just
pregnant people.
Yeah.
If I have to talk to a pregnant person and tell her which oils to buy,
you wouldn't be able to do it.
I'll just cry. I couldn't deal with it. But yeah, it was upsetting to see pregnant people. It was upsetting to see babies. It was upsetting to see children. It was upsetting to see toddlers and
Yeah, and also in movies, it's funny how things we see pretty much every day in movies, stuff like that, we don't pay attention to it, but then when shit like that happens, it's like triggers. Seeing birth or seeing people being raped, or actually seeing abortion. I think we saw someone having an abortion at one point.
Oh, it's a TV
movie.
show.
Yeah. I can't remember.
But
what something I was like, oh god, nope.
Yeah,
not yet.
We'd watch TV and film to try and take our mind off it and try and think of something else, and then there'd be someone having an abortion. It was like, for fuck's sake,
Yeah,
you
it's
can't
like really. Yeah.
I remember even when my parents were still there, so this was like literally the week after the abortion, Mum was like, okay, we're going to watch a film. What should we watch? So we put on Netflix, and it was like, there was that a Jennifer Lopez film that's like Plan B, where basically she gets pregnant before she finds her boyfriend, but then she ends up dating that guy. I was like, no, Mum, there's babies in that and pregnancy. Okay, so we'll watch Bridget Jones's Baby. No, Mum, she's got a fucking baby. Okay, so we'll watch this. No, because they have a miscarriage. Okay, so we'll watch this. No, because that's a married couple who want to get pregnant, but then this and that. And no, we can't watch that because it's a gay couple who want to get pregnant, so they get a surrogate wife. And like, it was funny because it was like TV shows, films, magazines, adverts, Instagram,
adverts,
Facebook.
something interesting. So you know, when you are pregnant and you plan to have a baby, you spend time on Amazon and you look for toys and all the shit that you need when you have a baby. And you know how Amazon is pretty amazing at recommending things, right? So because you spend 3 months looking at baby stuff, then for the next I don't know how many months, you keep seeing, maybe you're interested by nappies and blah and blah. Yeah, that's...
If you've got a baby, you need this toy, and you need this book.
We don't fucking have a baby.
You need nappy, so I watched a lot of YouTube, and obviously the adverts, I think every single advert was Pampers, nappies, for months. So I was trying to like disconnect and not think about it, turn on YouTube, okay, I'm going to watch some girl talking about some clothes. The advert is nappies and babies giggling, and I was just like, oh, like I'd cry before watching, trying to like get away from it, but that was super hard.
Yeah.
And
it's just plenty of little things like that seems, totally irrelevant in day-to-day life, but when something like that happens, it's like, wow, actually there's so many triggers, and I'm sure that's the case for other dramatic events, that if you, whatever happened, you can see it happening, you can see stuff like everywhere somehow.
Another one was shops though, so we'd go food shopping together because I wouldn't go on my own. But like, if I had to buy pads for my bra because my boobs were leaking for about a month or two, I can't remember, or even without doing that, even just going to the supermarket and buying our like weekly food shop, having to walk past the baby aisle and seeing like the baby bottles and the dummies and the nappies and this and that and the other. Like even walking past that, I'd have to walk past looking the other direction so that I wouldn't see it. And even that would trigger me, and I'd like start welling up and start crying, thinking, oh my God, I should be down that aisle thinking about which nappies I'm going to get for my baby and which size to get and da da da. And or like if I'd go into town to see my friends, like you'd walk to the bar, but you'd walk past like a baby clothes shop, and you'd be like, oh my God, that's so cute. Oh fuck you, I haven't got a fucking baby anymore. And it was just like all these little things that like constantly trigger you. But one of them for me that was really, really hard was babies. Like we said, we'd seen Aurelie's baby and Mary's baby, but even babies that we didn't know. So in July we drove to, I think it was at the same time, we drove to Jeremy's parents, and we were going to go to a wedding of Jeremy's friends, and we stopped at a service station along the way, stepped out of the car, and the car next to us was a family with a newborn baby, and they were changing the nappy or figuring out the pushchair or something, and Jeremy was trying to find his wallet in the back of the car seat, in like the boot of the car, in the trunk of the car if you're American. So Jeremy was faffing, and there was his baby crying, and I just stood there and I was like, I can't do this, and I had to like walk away, and I sat like, I don't know, a couple of cars away, like just on the floor crying and sobbing because I could hear this baby, and I just wanted to go over and like breastfeed him, or her, I don't know if it's a boy, I just presumed it was a boy. But I had this like really strong motherly instinct to go over and like hold the baby and cuddle him and breastfeed him and look after him and like, just be a mother. And that was so hard because like, yeah, seeing babies crying was hard because I just had that, like I already have that feeling anyway with babies, but especially when you're like expressing milk and you've just had an abortion, like the thing you want is to have that baby's cuddles and help them, and to hear them cry was so sad. And like, even in Miami, I wrote in my diary thing that we went to watch a football game, and I think there was a baby like 2 rows in front that cried a couple of times. And whenever the baby cried, I could feel my boobs leak more. And that's like, it's weird, like your body just reacts like to, oh my God, that baby needs me to go and look after them because they're not okay. Like I had such a strong urge, and that was tough. And even like when we went to this wedding, and I was sat opposite Jeremy, and we were with, so Jeremy's friends, but then we kind of knew a couple of their friends, but then I was sat next to somebody who I didn't know, and they obviously didn't know me. And he'd been with this girl for like 8 years, and I was like, oh, you should get married, when are you going to get married? And like kind of winding him up a little bit and having a bit of banter and a bit of fun and things. And then he asked me if I had kids, and I said no. And then he was like, oh, you should have kids, kids are great, why haven't you got kids, when are you going to have, like trying to banter me back about kids. Obviously he had no idea.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed it off a little bit, looked at Jeremy, because he was sat opposite me, and I just stared at him. He was like, are you okay? And I was like, mm-mm.
No.
So we had to like leave and cry, step
outside
and cry like mid-wedding, and then be like, okay, can you tell I've been crying, and have to go back in and like pretend I'm okay with this guy, because obviously I didn't want to make him feel bad. I didn't want to have any attention from the wedding on me at all. So it was just like, okay, step outside.
It's actually interesting. Like I feel like I try to be more cautious about that now. Seems like there's always this thing that we've all done it about, like, oh, you're gonna be 30, so you know it's time to find a man, a woman, to get married, to have a child, like all these things that we all joke about. That everyone has done it once in his life probably, or whatever. But actually, like 99% of the time it's probably gonna be fine. It's just gonna be a good joke. But you know, there's this 1% that you're gonna say that's someone that's in a situation that you have no idea what they're going through, and maybe they're desperate to find a partner or have a baby or get married or whatever, and they just can't for whatever reason, or maybe they did and something happened like for us. So I've been trying to be way more conscious about that, about those jokes that I was happily doing before, because we just don't know what's happening in people's life, and you know, maybe this joke is not going to be a good one. And
even if it's so that's true for people that you don't know, but also people that you do know. So I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to whatever, but some friends I know were trying for well over 2 years to get pregnant, had to go through lots of tests and different things, and there's actually 2 couples who did that, who only told me very, very recently, once they've had babies, oh, we struggled for 2 years. But I had no idea. So when I was getting pregnant, and when me and my friends were all getting pregnant, it was all like, oh, you know, you're next, when are you going to get pregnant? Oh, come on, you've been married 2 years now, get on with it. And like, you make these jokes, or even not even just jokes, like we don't actually genuinely talk about, like, oh, so when do you want to have children? You know, how many would you like? Would you like a boy? Like, we talk about things without realising that they've been trying for 2 years and having all these tests and things, and it's such a personal subject. And it's a funny one, because sometimes I'm like, we really need to talk about it more, which is why we're talking about it now. But at the same time, it's such a personal thing that you can't expect everyone just to openly be like, oh, I've been trying for, 6 months, it's not happening, so we're doing this, that, and the other. People only really tell you afterwards. A bit like us with this, like we didn't tell any, like, to be able to do a podcast like this at the time, wouldn't have been able to do it, but now we can talk about it afterwards. So it's a funny one that I kind of feel like we do need to talk about it more, but I also understand it's such a personal, such a hard thing to go through, that you don't particularly want to talk about it all the time to everyone. So it's
no, but even about that, it's more about also like respecting people. Like people are going through shit and have pain inside them, and we are just here like poking it.
Yeah, without knowing.
Without knowing, and we poke, and they must hear that, like every time they see friends and shit like that, and it's just maybe when they get home, as they cry, they hate us. And you never know, like those people are killing themselves like every day and stuff like that. And
it's interesting, when we moved here, like people, like I said, people didn't know our history and our story. So people would be like, oh, so we've been together 10 years, married for 5, and they'd be like, okay, so when are the kids? And we'd be like,
it's complicated.
No, I think I'd just say sometimes like, oh, I don't know, maybe sometime soon.
Yeah.
Because there's no point going into it.
No.
But it's those little things where it's like, oh, that hurt. That was a little jab in the stomach that I didn't need. So it's definitely made us more conscious of like asking people about when they're having kids things, and when they want kids and how many kids they want, and because it can be
all the things that we expect based on the age, right?
It can be it can be good it can be fine for a lot of people, like Jeremy said, but for some people it can be really painful if you ask them when they're getting pregnant and when they want babies and all the rest of it. So that was that kind of talk.
Just something that I remembered, and I just scribbled it like on a piece of paper to remember talk about it. So there's 2 things that up to these days are still in my mind. Is the question about like, do you have children? Like every time I fill up a form, and they say like you have to write down your name and your partner name, and then there's children, and there's like 0, 1 or more, whatever. And I was like, I want to add a fucking case, like, to say like that I had one, but he's not alive, you know, like, I don't know, sometimes I go think like that.
And that must be the same for people who have stillbirths or other things, like other, you know, children that die at the age of 1 or something. Like, yes, I had a child, like physically had a child for 1 whole year,
but he's not alive.
But they died,
anymore.
so it's a weird like.
Every time I feel a problem, I think about that. It's like, I think they should precise like alive, because it's obviously for a reason. But yeah, stupid thing like that. I really and I haven't figured out like what to say to people like when they say like, do you have a child? Like I still say no to this day, but every time I say no, there's something inside me. It's like bam, you know, punching. There's someone inside me like you punching. Like yes, you do. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe one day I'll be okay. It's just you don't want to get into the whole story, so I didn't find the right answer yet. Something else also, I don't know if I told you that, is I remember straight after the abortion and stuff like that, I really don't know why, and that's when you realize you have fucked up thoughts sometimes. I do remember thinking, like, imagine if one day you are like arrested by the police, okay, and you have to do a truth test.
A lie detector.
Yeah. And they ask you, have you ever killed someone? And I've always, I don't know why I make this shit up, right? But I know, like, I was like, I would say yes, because I felt like I was a murderer at the time. Signing this paper, you know, I said like in part 1 or 2 that signing the paper for me was really the thing. And that's why it was hard, because for me, like, signing this paper, and I'm not going to get into the subject of abortion, and I don't want to go into like, yeah, when you do an abortion, you're a murderer, but like, just like, that was in my head, like, a law, and it's not there anymore, but still to this day, I think, like, I would, if one day I get arrested,
like,
and
if somebody
afterwards,
thought you'd murdered someone, and they do lie detector say, have you ever murdered someone?
Yeah.
You'd be like...
And if I say no, I would expect a thing to say, like, you're lying. I know that, but, like, straight after it, I was like, I signed this paper, it's just like I've killed someone. Like, I've just stabbed or shot someone. I signed this paper. That was the same than shooting or stabbing someone in my head for a while. And I really felt like a murderer.
So I definitely felt like a murderer too, because I had nightmares. Do you remember my dreams? I had a few. It was like, okay, I'd get pregnant and then the baby would be 2 years old and then I would strangle them. Or I'd get pregnant and have a baby and then this time I'd wait until they're 15 years old and stab them. Or like I had a dream that like my little brother was pregnant but then killed it, or like that people were pregnant and kept killing, but like I just kept having dreams of people killing babies.
Even recently, actually, you had a few dreams like...
Oh, I did, didn't I?
6 months, I mean, after the other miscarriage, I can't remember which one, but I remember you had...
It was when I was pregnant with the fourth.
Another wave of dreams like that.
It was when I was pregnant with the fourth pregnancy. We're going to go into that in the next episode. Because I dreamt that I had 3 dreams, I think, where 3 babies died each time. And
then
Karen,
you were in a house full of dead babies everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. But
and
yeah.
Karen, I remember Karen being like, do you think that's because you've had 3 pregnancies and all 3 died? And I was like, oh, like mind blown. But yeah, I still, like, not often. I definitely had it, like, for a while, like, straight after the abortion, whenever I closed my eyes, even to blink, I saw his face. I found that super hard. So, like, going to sleep, trying to go to sleep, I'd just see his face. So I dreamt a lot about dead babies then. And then recently I did when I was pregnant again. But otherwise I haven't really had that, but... Yeah. And I remember actually, you wanted to watch Dexter, I think probably about a year after the abortion, right? It was in Miami, I think.
No, I think it was still in France. It was because Dexter is in Miami, and I thought, oh, because we're gonna move there, or because we went there for a week, it'd be fun to watch it just to see if we see stuff.
Basically, Dexter is a TV show about this guy who murders murderers. So he's like the good guy cleaning up all the bad guys. And we watched one episode, and I couldn't watch it because I was like, no, because I'm a murderer. I can't watch somebody murder other people. I could, like, that is not entertainment for me. I just feel like he would kill me for what I've done. So yeah, I definitely felt like a murderer. Which is such a hard thing to go, like, I mean, it might, like, talking about it now, it's like, God, imagine feeling like a murderer for ending a child's life because they would have had such an awful
the thing.
existence.
It's just
like,
the point was just to say that like we have fucked up thoughts and
it still affects us to this day. Like,
yeah,
I think it will do forever.
Yeah. We always have reminders, like when it's time to go to college and stuff like that. We always can have reminders, but yeah. You can be whatever you are, like strong or whatever, like things like that, like you're still triggers that are gonna remind you what happened. And like I said, like recently with back to school or this kind of thoughts, it's not just happening to someone else and you don't control that, but also things can get better. Just like to kind of wrap it up in a sense, so it took a while, but at around October, November time, we had a serious conversation with Rosie, and so we were still planning to move to Miami, but we had obviously a visa and a bunch of things to do. So we were in a process of doing the paperwork, so we didn't know when we were gonna move. But eventually we decided that even if Rosie was getting a bit better, it was still not good at all, that we had to we needed a change.
Can I say that?
Yeah.
So, like we said, Jen was going to work every day and I was just stuck at home, and sometimes I'd go out to do blog post things and whatever. But I remember like it got to the point where I can't remember if it was coming back from Portugal or something, or Miami or whatever, but we came back from somewhere and I stepped through the door and I just felt like such a weight on my shoulders again. Like I was fine, stepped through and I was like, oh my God, I can't be here anymore. Like I cannot live here. And even like, so we decided we're going to move to Miami in December, end of December, 17th-ish, I think it was. But even before that, in November, I was like, no, I cannot live here any longer. I don't care what we do, I have to leave. And Jen was like, Rosie, we can't. I was like, I don't care, I have to we have to move to Italy. I can't be in France, I cannot be here. We just have to move. And Jen was like, we cannot do that because it would cost so much money to like fly to Italy, find accommodation, try and sort out our apartment while we were somewhere else. And it was like, we also needed the money to be able to live in Miami and get food and accommodation in Miami. And it was like, but I remember for that last month, it was so hard for me to, every time I stepped through that door, I was like, oh my God, I just had to be anywhere but there.
So we had this conversation, and based on that, we're like, okay, like we have to provoke the change, because we can't just wait. We don't know how long for the visa to come and everything, and in a sense I'm glad we did, otherwise I don't know if we would be here right now. But so one day, that must have been end of October, beginning of November probably, I called one of my manager and I just told him, I was like, it's, I mean, this is new everything, so there was nothing new there, but it was like, we just can't carry on like that, we can't live here, we need a new environment. So we either come to Miami to join you guys because they were in Miami, or I just quit and we just pack our bag and go somewhere, I don't know where. But we need to get out as soon as possible. And they've been amazing about it. They're like, all right, I'll deal with it. Book your flight. I'll sort it out work-wise. Just do your thing and just tell me, and that's it. And they've been amazing for that. And so yeah, we basically like pretty much within like, well, okay, so when can we leave, like, because we own a place, so we had to sell everything, find a tenant and rent the place and sort our shit out in basically a month. I was like, okay, it's the earliest we can leave. It's probably like December, mid-December-ish. So we put everything for sale and contacted an agency to find a tenant and did like book fly, everything without a visa. So we actually moved to the US with just the ESTA. We didn't have the visa yet. We got the visa like in March later. But yeah, we needed that. That was just required. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. But
Well, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't have said. I don't even know how I stayed the extra month.
Yeah, so we were super busy anyway the last month.
Yeah,
so
I guess
think
it,
that
put us into...
you know, like we had people coming to buy that and so it was quick at the end. But yeah, and just to finish on something is that I honestly don't know if we did it in purpose, but I know that later I thought about it. And I really don't know if we did that in purpose, if we had the discussion. But we moved to Miami a week before Christmas, on the 17th, I think. And I remember thinking like, damn, we could just stay a week later and spend Christmas with our family. But we just wanted to get away as soon as possible. And consciously, I have no idea, whatever, but my point is, I think I wanted to escape this Christmas, because that should have been the first Christmas with a baby, and you know, like, it should have been the center of the attention, getting more presents and toys that you need, and you know, all these things that we all do with, you know, baby having his first Christmas, and I really don't remember that being a conscious choice at the time, but I really think that impacted the decision about living before. I don't know for you if it was in purpose, but I didn't want to celebrate Christmas.
I think our families wanted us to stay for Christmas. We were like, no, we're not doing it, and I don't think they quite understood it, and I don't think we really explained it either. It was just like, no, we're not doing it.
But I've realized that later is that I didn't want to celebrate this Christmas because something, you know, someone was missing in a sense, and it was not going to be the Christmas that I was envisioning and expecting. So yeah, for Christmas, I don't give a shit. I just want to be on the beach in Miami and have a barbecue.
But then actually, had we have stayed, I think it would have been so much worse because we would have been so sad and upset. But then, like, literally, we'd moved there maybe, 7 days, like a week before.
Yeah.
So we were still exploring Miami. We were still, like, in a new place and looking at new things and whatever. So we actually just had a really nice day. Just the two of us, had a barbecue. We went we bought ourselves like rollerblades and a skateboard, and we went skating together and went on the beach and had a swim, and it was such a nice day together to be like, okay, that's in the past and this is our new life now, and it was like a really nice way to start our Miami adventures. I feel like if we'd have waited till January, we would have had Christmas and New Year's at home, which I think would have been nice to our family and friends, but probably not nice.
It would have been more triggers, you know, and things to bring us down a bit more, which we didn't need that anymore. So,
but then actually interesting, talking about Christmas, last year I actually found that a lot harder because Jeremy was in France with his family and I was in England with my family.
Oh yeah, that was in 2018 actually, 1 year later, not this year.
Oh, was it 1 year?
That's when I had my broken foot.
Really? Oh yeah, 2 years ago, sorry, yeah. Jeremy was in France and I was in England with my family, and I remember just like...
Yeah, you had a terrible Christmas.
We had an awful Christmas. Like, one of my sister-in-law's fathers died. Me and my sister-in-law just kept bickering the whole time, I think, because it's just a really tough situation for a lot of us for a lot of different reasons. And I remember just like going to bed at like 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve and crying in bed, and I called Karen, my best friend, because like Jeremy spends Christmas Eve with his family.
I tried to call you actually and you didn't pick up.
Yeah.
I was with the kid, I was like, let's call Rosie, and you didn't pick up.
Yeah.
You told me the day after.
Because you spent Christmas Eve with his whole family, I don't want to ruin his evening, so I called Karen and I found it so hard. And then even the next day on Christmas morning, I was like, spent some time with grandma and I had a really good cry with her, and I was like, God, this is the first Christmas where I would have been like playing with toys and like maybe walking, and like I think the first Christmas didn't bother me so much because it was like Miami, new adventure, like keep busy. And it was that one that really hit me because it was like, oh shit, like this is, especially because my brother had a kid who would have been like 4 months younger, and he was like opening presents and getting excited and like having a personality, and I was like, oh my God, it is so...
Yeah, because it would have been like 18 months pretty much, so
yeah,
that's like the fun time, so yeah.
But so yeah, with that being said, like it's so tough watching all these babies that we know growing up, and like even my friends now, like I've got a friend who's due in November. I'm happy for her, but at the same time I'm like, ugh, God, that hurts. I'm just always gonna have that reminder.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the aftermath.
Yeah, and after that we moved to Miami and things started to get better, to just summarize it in a sense, and somehow just this new environment, all the new people we met, all this new.
Do you know how people say it's a new
mindset and
chapter?
everything.
I feel like Miami was a whole new book.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, it's like a whole.
It wasn't even a new chapter or a new paragraph. It was like literally a whole new book.
Yeah.
Start again. Who are we? What do we want to do? Start from scratch. New friends, new life, new hobbies, new jobs, new everything. Like it was just.
Oh, something I just remember actually is I remember saying to myself, I don't know when, but after the abortion and everything, I realized how precious life is. And I remember being like, from now, first, like I need to enjoy, because you never know what's gonna happen. You know, like everything is wonderful. You get married, you get pregnant, and then everything is just like falling apart. So you never know what's gonna happen, and things can fall apart tomorrow for whatever reason. So just like that was a massive punch in terms of like, shit, like stop taking everything for granted and enjoy life, because you never know. You just have no clue what's gonna happen. And also I really remember thinking, I'm gonna live like my best life for him. Like he's not gonna be. I took his life. I made this choice to end his life because he would have been, you know, like so complicated, and I feel like I owe him that, to just live the best life I can possibly have. And fuck if you don't agreeing with me, if you want me to do X, Y, Z, I'm going in my way. I'm going to literally have like the best thing that I can ever have, not just for me, but for him as well, because he can't have it. So I'm going to do that for us. And that's something that's been driving me since then. I I literally don't give a crap about what people think. If I'm doing the right choice, the career, whatever, I'm going to do things my way. And as long as me and Rosie agree on it, that's all that matters. And if we want to live the life traveling or whatever, like we will, because that's what feels right for us. And yeah, that was a massive wake-up call for me.
I guess it was like you didn't want to be wasted. You didn't want to be like, okay,
Yeah,
we're not going to have this
exactly.
baby, but we're still going to live somewhere we're not particularly happy living, with a job we're not particularly happy doing, and, you know, plodding on with this normal
Just life is precious.
life.
So.
And like it makes you realise like how precious it is, and how like you shouldn't take anything for granted. And
so that was a big wake-up call.
I think it changed you so
that.
much. I mean, the amount you've changed in 10 years is crazy, but the amount especially you changed since then is also crazy.
Should we close this episode?
Yeah, so that was the aftermath that obviously we're still dealing with, and we still will forever. But
so yeah, in the last episode we're gonna talk about some discussion we had in Miami, you know, in terms of being ready maybe to try again or whatever, and then we'll go through the two miscarriages. Okay, miscarriages that we had since then in Miami. So yeah, we'll go through that in the last part next week.
something I want to say as well is, so even though I had the miscarriage in the first episode, and then the next episode we're going to talk about 2 of the miscarriages. So I had 1 miscarriage and 1 missed miscarriage, and all 3 of them were entirely different experiences. So even though you think, oh, I've already heard a talk about a miscarriage, please do listen, because they're so different.
Yeah.
All 3 of them were so different in their own rights, in terms of like what happened, how far along I was, how I felt.
And like physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
Like and technically, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like the reason and the whole thing is so different. Like it's the same word, but.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about miscarriage, make sure you do come back for that one, because like I kind of thought that if one person had 3 miscarriages, all 3 would be the same. I never thought they could be so entirely different.
Yeah. And
so I think it's really interesting to get my perspective on 3 different miscarriages rather than 3 different people talking. So it should be really eye-opening anyway.
Yeah, it should be interesting, because obviously like the reason we had the abortion is something really specific to us, and actually we'll talk about that as a result and everything. But yeah, miscarriage, you know, happened to way more people than genetic disorder, and the 3 of them are completely different. So it's probably just interesting for you guys to know about it.
I think it's interesting for everyone to know about, even if you want children, you don't want children, like you might know friends or you might see something on TV or whatever. Like I just think it's such an interesting thing that people should talk about and people should know about, because I had no idea. Like I had no idea that any of this was going to happen. I didn't know that all three would be different, and it's just, I don't know. Anyway, so that's going to be the next episode, so make sure you come back for that one next Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening. If you are still here, we know these are longer episodes, but it's so nice to talk about it and to get it off our chests and to share our experience and try and, you know, bring some light to it, and I guess for people to get to know us a little bit more as well, get to know our story. And at
least we don't have to repeat ourselves a million times. You know,
if you want to know, just listen to 7 hours of podcast.
I'm just going to put down a t-shirt and, you know, like, do you have a child? No, but if you want to know why, listen to these 4 episodes and you'll know why. You know, some t-shirt about that. No, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it.
If you listen, please send us messages as well. It'd be really nice to know that you've listened and that you support us and that.
And I'm gonna leave our Instagram. That's the best way to contact us in the description. So just send us a message and tell us whatever you want to tell us. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday for the last part of this special series.
Yep, thank you so much for listening. Bye guys. So that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We really hope it was a little bit helpful and informative. Like I said on the podcast, next episode we'll be talking about 2 of the miscarriages, so make sure you stay tuned for those that are coming next Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe for more videos, and I will see you very soon. And give it a big thumbs up for us, that'd be really nice.